because okay, there's two councillors that didn't know what this was about, right? So consequently, they may have changed their decision not to vote, right? So I'm now going to have a re-vote on this.
You can't do that for 6 months.
I'm going to do it now because they were uninformed of the situation. So the question is, this is about a former employee's email. Should it be discussed under pink paper or not? Those that think it should be discussed under pink paper, can they please raise their hands? That's 3. Who think it should not be discussed under pink paper? 5, that's fine. Put that down. Okay, so that's cleared that up because you didn't know. Alright? Okay. Right, you've all seen this email, yeah? Yes. Okay. Obviously, you can't refer to, you can't name the person. No. Okay, and it might limit debate because of the fact that the public are here and some disagree with that. But anyway, well, I think the thing to consider really is how do we proceed from this, from receiving this email, and what actions do we take? So, Councillor Contry?
I think because there's a conflict in how the annual leave is calculated by the former employee, certainly from my aspect of calculating annual leave, I think it might be important at this stage if we ask the town clerk if she could give us the calculations of the annual leave that has been given to staff and how it is that she does her calculations. I think that would be the easiest way to proceed in addressing this particular problem. The government obviously sets down a law on how...
Employees work under local government services.
Which
we have different.
Okay, can we just have one answer and one question? We can't have counter talking. So, can you just repeat the question again, and Elsie will answer it?
The government has a website which calculates the annual leave, which is the law. I need to inform you that I have spoken with the legal team at Central Beds. I've spoken to our own lawyer, Leanne Harding. I've also spoken to ACAS, and I've also spoken to the National Association of Local Councils. They actually agree that whatever policies or procedures are in place at local government level, all of them must conform to what the government lays down as law. And that when I've given them my calculations, it appears that they all agree that my way of calculating annually is correct. That is why I think instead of getting into a big debate over how leave is allocated, it would be far better for you to give us on how you calculate your annual leave and how you arrive at your figures. And then we can have a look at what the government says you should do on calculating those figures. I think that's the best way forward.
I'm not going to answer that question because I think we should have a working party, total councillors, to discuss it so that we can go through how it's calculated and what is it on an employee's contract.
Actually, Town Clerk, I need to remind you that this email was sent to councillors, and it's the councillors' actual decision on how we address this particular problem. I am sorry on that, but it isn't for you to tell me that we need to have a working party. It's for councillors to actually decide on how we move forward. I think, as I say, and I think the best way of us solving this particular problem with this former employee is to actually look at how the annual leave calculations are done by the town council. That is not unreasonable. I know how I have allocated out annual leave to my staff, and I know that on check-in that I have followed the government guidelines. Now, there are always variations within different organisations and companies as to whether there are statutory days, extra additional days, or whether there's flexible working. There's always a way of coming up with a solution to any difficulty in which any employee would be working. There are also extra days for service, so that if you've been employed for 5 years, you would, in some organisations, get an additional 5 days. And I do believe, from the people that I've spoken with, that that would apply in local authorities. So what I'm saying is that I don't know how the annual leave is calculated here at Arlesey Town Council, and I think the easiest way of resolving this problem is to actually look at how the annual leave is calculated, and then we can compare with what we think it should be. So we don't know until you actually
Right, you were in
produce...
the office one day some months ago
Yes,
when I spoke to you about this matter,
yes.
and I told you then we were in local government services.
I'm awfully sorry. I know about the Green Book. I know how you do your calculations. But what I need to see on paper is how you do those calculations. If you ask me, could I write down how I do my calculations? I've done it. I've done it this afternoon. I've got it all down there written. Quite simple. All I'm asking for is, can we see how your calculations are done, so that then we can actually look at the former employee's email and start to break it down and see. It may be that the former employee is wrong. We don't know. I have got nothing to benchmark it against. I need to know how our calculations are done in Arlesey Town Council.
Well, I mean, if you'll forgive me, I'll answer for Elsie, right? I don't think you would have a problem explaining the way you calculate things, right? And I think she is quite prepared to do that, but I don't think this is the right environment for her to discuss that. Right? And I don't think it can be properly appraised and looked at in this environment. So what I would suggest is that the way forward is for 2 councillors and possibly an independent person from another parish council or town council.
Yes, you did suggest that to me, and I'm
to look at this whole situation and find out who's right and who's wrong.
Another town parish clerk who was willing to come over here. I phoned 18 parish councils and nobody wanted to help. The only person who did offer to help was Louise Ashmore.
I'm going to say, you tried Louise Ashmore.
That's right, there's Louise Ashmore.
So why can't we use...
I think we're sort of getting a little bit excited here. All I'm looking for is to see a strong list of how those calculations are done. We don't need a working party, we don't need 3 or 4 different people. We just need a piece of paper sent out to all of the councillors explaining how the annual leave is calculated. That's all. That's all we need at this stage. How else can we even begin to address the email?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Councillor West.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I've got a few
related
points. First one is, how much in total money value are we looking at?
Well, it depends.
No, okay, right. How much, right? Then the second thing is, okay, other places accrue you accrue your annual leave throughout from the start of the leave year.
Yeah.
Okay, and you accrue it, and you have to have worked it before you can take it. Now, when my son was working until his job came in, he accrued half a day, because it was full time, per week annual leave. Okay, and that was paying when he left. So after 12 weeks, it accrued 1 whole week's annual leave. But if we've got, that's 40 hours. So therefore, if somebody's only working 20 hours, right, they would not accrue half a day, right, they would accrue a quarter a day on a full-time basis.
Well, that might be helpful. That's a different organisation. We need to stick and focus on what local government
Right, Elsie,
campaigns.
what are you prepared to answer to Judy? Okay. The answer that Elsie gave us, she's not discussing it with the public here.
Good.
Okay, now I can't make her, and I've got to be considerate to employees as well.
I'm not
Right.
going to put that down.
We need-
This is just annual leave allocation. It's what every organisation in the world gives to their employees.
Councillor
It's a
Foster,
simple thing.
I understand all
There's
that.
nothing too complicated.
I understand all of that. All I'm saying is, I don't believe it's the right environment to be discussing this and for her to try and give her side of the story.
It isn't a side of
Right.
the story.
Well,
no,
it is because you're asking her to explain how she's worked.
No.
I don't even know if she brought that information with her tonight. She might not have done so.
I'm just asking how the annual leave is calculated. I've just given you how I calculate the annual leave for all your organisations that I work for. I use the government's guidelines.
Okay.
I've told you it's simple.
Okay.
I'm just asking how the annual leave.
And when
If
you
we
was in
use-
the office some months ago, we also went through that with you.
Yeah,
So you know what we were doing.
yeah, excuse me, when are you talking about?
Sometime.
A while back, when I came down at the request of someone who was pretty upset because the annual leave had been calculated incorrectly.
No, how do you
Right.
know it was incorrect without
Because I went on to .gov.uk and showed you how to do the calculation.
I could only go by what I've got to go by, and I told you there's a contract, and that we work under local government services.
But according to the email, you did actually give her additional annual leave that year.
Yes, I did.
Why was that?
I did. I'm not discussing about an employee in front of the public.
I
Councillor,
haven't mentioned your names.
No, I know you haven't.
I do.
Probably some of them know.
This is
if anyone.
precisely the reason why I thought it was the most inappropriate thing to discuss with the public here. It's got to be done in an office and it's got to be sensibly worked out. You can't talk about years of holiday pay
I'm not
at
talking about holiday
a
pay.
meeting like this. You
I'm
can't.
just asking for a method of how annual leave is calculated. That's all I've asked for.
Well, the
That's
answer
all
that
I've
I
asked for.
understand it that you've given is that you do it according to the guidelines of now. So that's all I know. I don't know more than that. So how that differs from what you're referring to, that is what we've got to get to the crux of, isn't it?
That's precisely why I'm
This is it.
asking for a list of how that calculation is done. I can explain to you in 5 seconds how I do my calculations. So it isn't anything difficult.
Okay.
So that's...
Is it something you can explain? Leslie, is it something that is easily explainable?
But surely everyone...
Mr Chair, stop, you're undermining the clerk there by going to the assistant clerk. Please, well, the clerk is the clerk.
I
And
think both clerks have been under.
Yeah, I think this is what I mean. The whole thing is wrong here. This is not right.
Elsie's employed as the clerk and she's the line manager, so all questions should be from the chair directed to the clerk, and it's then down to the clerk to inform her staff
Okay.
whether she wishes
Well,
them
the
to come.
clerk has already stated that she's not prepared to answer the question in this audience.
Then we have to accept that as far as the clerk is talking for all of the staff and because she's the line manager. Then we have to accept that.
Okay, Councillor Holloway.
Do you think we've done the calculations correct?
Yes.
You think they're 100% correct?
Yes. According with what I have to work with, yes.
There's only one way to resolve this, and that is Elsie to explain in detail how she's calculated it, and for Judy or another person to come up with the alternative calculation that Judy's referring to.
Well, okay, if we exclude the public, are you prepared to tell us how you do the calculation?
Not this time, no.
Well, it's quite early. Normally we've sat here until 11:30
I'm afraid
on
I
this
do.
paper.
I'm afraid I do have somewhere to go tonight, and I can't stay too
Mr
much.
Chair, then the answer is we abandon the meeting.
Well, that's a possibility. All I'm suggesting is that this is looked at in a proper, rational way, not in this forum.
Yeah, Mr Chair, that's the only item on the agenda item I propose that we abandon the meeting as the clerk cannot